So over the past couple weeks, I have discovered an unexpected blessing that comes from our winter weather, that if you have snuck off to California or maybe off to Florida, you may have missed out on this. So I want to make sure that you get to hear about this too. Winter weather gives us the chance to spend quality time studying the bumpers of other cars. Right? So when it's starting to snow and the streets are starting to get a little bit slippery, we start watching very carefully that car ahead of us. Hopefully we've slowed down a bit, and so have they. But we want to watch to see, are they going to slide off the road? Are they going to turn? Am I going to be able to stop in time? Am I going to slide off the road? And we get that chance to sort of spend quality time staring at their bumpers for safety's sake. So the other day, I was pulling into my neighborhood, onto my street, which I'm pretty sure is on the city's "we'll get there by April" plowing list. And the snow had just started, and the streets were getting slick. And I just happened to have pulled in just behind my neighbor. And so I had that chance to spend quality time examining and looking carefully at his bumper. And as we were pulling into this slick street, I began to count and notice just how many Green Bay Packers stickers were on the back of his car. And I said to myself, oh, okay, well, that's dangerous to carry in some areas around here. Now think for a second what just happened, right? The Green Bay Packers are a bunch of muscular guys that live a couple hundred miles away that play a game that involves a lot of falling down. They don't come here to Valparaiso, and yet for me to talk about them and you to chuckle is they have an influence here in our midst, don't they? As well as other sports teams and things like that. And I discovered recently that there is an entire branch of study of what happens to us as sports fans. What does it do to us when we talk about our team? Listen to that, the royal we, our team, my team, that frankly you don't have anything to do with, but it is our team. They've even done things like check people's saliva and, to see what's going on with hormones and chemical balances. They put people into fMRI, the fast MRI machines, to see what's going on in the brains. And what they have learned is that when watching sports, it hijacks our bodies. It hijacks our hormones. It changes our brain chemistry, and in fact, it will activate in our brains the areas of pleasure and pain. We feel pain when we watch sports. It changes how we think, and from watching sports and having a sports team that we claim as our own, it helps us to feel connection, relationship, self-esteem. Identity is what we call that. Now, isn't that interesting? By putting a sticker on the back of our cars, we are claiming identity, who we are. And riding behind my neighbor on that day got me thinking about these voices and all the different areas in our life and in our world that want to tell us who we are, that want us to have an identity that they decide for us. And I started running through them in my head, and I discovered very quickly that you can't do it just on your own. You have to make a list. And so you received on your way in a 3x5 card. I'm going to invite you to go ahead and take that out so that you can try this exercise as well. Now, if you don't have one, raise your hand, and our ushers have some extras, and we will get those to you. We've got pencils in the rows and things like that, and hopefully we can share pens and pencils and things like that. All right, we've got a couple hands up. So everybody needs a 3x5 card, please. Yeah, we've got folks who are bringing those around. Yeah, so as you get your 3x5 card and take a pencil or a pen, and we can start together with the easy stuff, right? Your name. The names that you are given. So the one that you received at birth, the one you maybe got at baptism, or the nicknames that you have now, or maybe that you had as a kid. What do they call you at work? You can think about title: teacher, professor, doctor, lawyer, Your Honor, Madam President, right? You can think about titles, the things that help shape and let people know who you are. Pastor, reverend, whatever it might be. Start there and start listing some of those. What do people call you? Mom, grandpa, hey you, right? Start with your names, the things that people call you, that identify you. And kind of put those across the top, list them down. There's probably more than you expected, right? And then we might go to and think about other ways other identities that voices want to give us. So what are the identities that are in your wallet? What do the contents of your wallet say about you? Maybe start with your driver's license, right? So 6'3", gray hair, blue eyes, things like that. Or think about what else is in your wallet. I am a very important person at Kohl's. Or think about the backside of your driver's license. Maybe it says that you are an organ donor. And as an aside, I really do hope you will pray and think about checking that box. It really does make a difference. That gift of life that only you can give. Pray about that, to check that organ donor box. Or maybe your wallet says that you are a blood donor. And again, I really hope that is true of you, that together we give blood for the sake of others. It is a gift that only we can give. Pray about that too. Maybe in your wallet it says that you, like me, are a member of the Y. Not that you go necessarily, but we could go if we ever get there. That's just a possibility. Think about maybe even what your credit cards say about you, right? What the corners of those. Disney really likes my money. I support my travel habits by my shopping. Right? If you got one of those airline cards. I don't know if they have a VU card yet, but I'll bet it's coming. Right? And we could go even further and think about our checkbooks. We could think about our credit card, our bills and what they say about us. These are voices that want us to believe that we are something in particular. Well, let's take a more honest turn, too. And let's think about the things that you hear on the TV or in advertisements, right? There are a lot of voices trying to tell us who we are. Too tall, too short, too fat, too thin, too ugly, too pretty, too rich, too poor, too pathetic. I mean, think about all those voices that speak and start writing down some of those. And by the way, why is it that buying shoes is the solution to all of those problems? I do not understand our marketing system, but that seems to be the answer. Go and buy shoes. Or think about the hard words you hear from others. What do others say about you that you don't want to hear, or maybe are behind your back, but you know they're saying anyway? Go ahead and write those down too. This is only for you. Nobody else is going to see this. Go ahead and be honest about that. Or how about those things you say about yourself? In the middle of the night, when those nights are getting awfully long, and sleep is a long way away. Those things that you say only to yourself and you would never envision saying to anybody else, write those things down too. Because that's a voice trying to tell you who you are. How's your list doing? Is it longer than you thought? Mine just kept going and going and going. A lot of voices trying to tell me who I am. And I thought about these lists, and as we hear today, Jesus arriving at the Jordan, I thought about the list that he carried. John has been out in the wilderness. He's offering the opportunity to be part of an upside-down world, to invite people into helping the world look the way it's supposed to. And Jesus has come out there with the crowds, and he's brought his own list. Think about the things that were said about Jesus back in his day. Hillbilly, redneck, tiny little nothing town, no good comes from Nazareth. Carpenter, which was not something to be admired at the time. Illegitimate. Everybody knows how long it takes for a baby to gestate, and the timing was off. So maybe behind his back they even called him bastard. Jesus brought his own list, and not all of them were pretty. And as he waded out into that water, as John lowered him down, and as he came up and blinked away the rainbows of those droplets of water, he looked up and saw something that had never happened before. The heavens were ripped apart. Not cut, not folded, not sliced. There was no scalpel. They were ripped apart so that they cannot ever go back the way things were. And through the frayed edges of heaven came a voice that landed on him with the claws like a dove, carrying a word. Beloved. Beloved. The same voice that spoke through that tear in heaven at your baptism and named you beloved. So take your card and turn it sideways. And in the biggest, boldest letters you can imagine, take up as much space as you possibly can. Write that word that God says to you, beloved. Make it as bold as you can. And we even put crayons out in the gathering area on the tables. Stop by and pick the brightest color you can find and color that as thick as you possibly can. Beloved, the one identity that is true of you, the one identity that you really are. God has named you beloved. You are my beloved child, God says to you today. You are my darling. You are mine, and I love you. I have claimed you. Write that word as thick and bold as you possibly can so that it's covering over all of those others. Beloved. Then as you go out this week, go live that. Take it with you. Take the card with you. You can put it in your wallet. You can put it on your bathroom mirror. You can put it in your card so you remember, beloved. And go live that way. Go live as one who is beloved. Go be loved. And remember, that is the voice that creates everything. When that voice speaks and says things like, let there be light, those things are true. That is the only voice and the only name that can create who you are. You are beloved of God. So go live that way. Go be loved. One last thing. In just a second, we're going to have some time for reflection. And on the back side of your card, I want you to think about that person in your life who most needs to know how loved they are. The one who's dying to hear it. Sometimes that'll be a metaphorical thing, but not always. They may physically, literally be dying to know that they are loved by God. Think about that person, because we all have them. and write their name on the back. And then as you go out this week to be loved, as you go out to live as God's beloved, think and pray about how you can help that person to know too just how much God loves them.